Hello, my name is Bianca Winship, and I have developed a comprehensive assessment plan as part of my culminating project for EDU 741 at the University of New England. My plan is an elementary intermediate comprehensive assessment plan, and it was developed for intermediate students, more specifically 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students at Fred P. Hall School in Portland, Maine. It provides a list of assessments for classroom teachers and support staff to measure, monitor, and support reading development. This plan is intended for a diverse population of students in an inclusive classroom setting that includes students of various socioeconomic status, English language learners, and students with individualized education plans. My plan includes common, summative, and formative assessments to be implemented throughout the year to not only measure student proficiencies in reading, but to monitor growth and also isolate developmental reading needs. In my presentation, I will discuss the Access Test for English language learners and the NWEA as part of our common or high-stakes assessments. The summative assessments included are the Fountas and Pinnell Reading Assessment, the Quick Phonics Screener, and Portfolio Assessments. Finally, formative assessments I'll be covering include running records, records of conferences, small groups, and observations, as well as student self-assessments. So the first common assessment is the Access Test, which is formally known as Assessing Common Comprehension and Communication in English State to State for English Language Learners. It is a computer-based test that our district relies on to measure language, reading, and writing proficiencies of ELL students. Because Portland is an asylum city, we have a range of students entering with a variety of language proficiencies. The Access Test is administered once per year to determine ELL services and inform classroom teachers of language development to inform direct instruction. So, for example, if a student enters at a composite level 3, which is a developing language learner, but demonstrates at an expanding or bridging level in subgroup of listening and speaking, then that student has a strength in an auditory learning environment and would benefit from class discussion to support and foster their language development. The second common assessment in my plan is the NWEA, also known as the Northwestern Association MAP Growth Assessment. It's an adaptive common assessment that students in grades 3 through 5 take 3 times per year to measure reading proficiency and growth. The NWEA is a computer-based assessment with a multiple choice test format. The assessment is adaptive because it will toggle between performance levels to determine students' reading proficiency and growth. Once students have answered 40 to 50 questions regarding comprehension of different text structures and a variety of genres and vocabulary-related questions, students are given a RIT score that uses millions of NWEA scores across the nation to measure students' reading proficiency and growth at the national, district, school, and grade level. Students' RIT scores are tracked and used to support specific curricular programming. For example, if a student fell well below the national norm for their grade level in reading, they would be monitored and possibly referred to response to intervention. But other assessments would need to be administered to check the validity of the score. Those assessments would be included in my list of summative assessments. My summative assessments included in my comprehensive assessment plan are the Fountas and Pinnell Reading Assessment, the Quick Phonics Screener, and Portfolio Assessments. The Fountas and Pinnell Reading Assessment is a comprehensive reading assessment or reading inventory that measures students' fluency, accuracy, decoding, and comprehension. Students are given a text ranging from text level A to Z. Students read aloud and silently to measure fluency and accuracy. Teachers can track decoding errors and corrections, identifying errors as visual errors, for example, windy or for whiny, or meaning errors where words are substituted and context is intact. Students' comprehension is measured through retelling and summarizing the text, as well as probing for literal, structural, inferential, and interpretive questions for a fiction or nonfiction text. The Quick Phonics Screener is a phonemic awareness assessment that can be used to support students that struggle to decode. It can be used as a diagnostic test to triangulate specific decoding errors based on an accuracy score below 95% on the Fountas and Pinnell Reading Assessment. Students read a series of nonsense words that target phonemic patterns and sentences with words that include the phonemic patterns. words. This way, students may use decoding and contextual skills to read phonemic patterns. A portfolio assessment is my final summative assessment, but it offers the most validity due to its flexibility and all-encompassing skills outside of just the cognitive and capturing students' reading development. Author Bach states that portfolios are meant to document, evaluate, and showcase student learning by providing a compilation of records, journaling, and creative projects. This allows students to take a vested interest in reflecting and internalizing their own reading development through self-assessment of rubrics and progressions, authentic assessment, and tangible feedback from their peers and teachers. This method of assessment may include a compilation of reading assessments like Fountas and Pinnell Reading Assessment, NWEA, or Access scores, as well as a running record, journaling, and creative or authentic projects that elicit student understanding as a reader. Students select journaling or written assignments that use rubrics to scaffold student learning and encourage self-assessment. Rubrics like progression charts can be used so students may internalize their reading expectations and monitor their own growth via compilation of work. This method of assessment shows a picture of the whole student using various data points and allows the student to be a participant in assessing their skills. Finally, formative assessment is the element of assessment that monitors student growth. Running records, conferences, observations, and student self-assessment inform teacher instruction and allow teachers to adjust their instruction if students are not making expected gains. By using a variety of formative assessment strategies, teachers cast a wider net to support and monitor reading development. Formative assessment should be quick to leave adequate time for instruction and independent work to meet learning goals. It also allows for the most differentiation to meet diverse learning profiles. Since formative assessment by nature is an informal assessment, it can be adjusted to scaffold various student needs. For example, running records are a quick way to measure student fluency and accuracy based on authentic texts students choose to read during independent reading. Teachers take 2 to 5 minutes to listen to students read aloud and ask comprehension questions related to the story elements or main idea of the text. Teachers can then monitor students' choice of text level. Records of conferences, small groups, and observations are used to monitor students' text level choices and target student goals. Teachers keep records and notes regarding students' fluency, accuracy, and comprehension. Direct and individualized instruction can be delivered via one-on-one conferences or small groups to target reading needs. This is an optimal opportunity to give students valuable feedback on their reading habits and reading strategies. And finally, student self-assessment rubrics and progressions are used to instruct students on their own reading development goals, as well as used to teach next steps in students' reading. Chapman and King state that when students self-assess, they are able to quickly turn mistakes into learning opportunities. They become independent and responsible for their own learning. Self-assessment can be captured via rubrics or checklists that students use as tools to assess their journaling or creative projects. So as I reflect on my learning and experience with literacy assessments, I appreciated the opportunity to get my hands dirty, per se, in trying out different assessments. I found that I gravitated towards assessments that were more flexible, comprehensive, and student-centered, but more importantly, assessments that support classroom instruction in a clear and concise manner in order to measure, monitor, and support students' reading development. This is the conclusion of my assessment plan. I thank you for supporting my educational practice with your thoughtful feedback.